Can any one of us hold all of these things in tension like Jesus did? I don't even know if I can hold any of these in tension like Jesus did. Was Jesus good? I'm just going to list a bunch of things that I think nobody would disagree with to show that Jesus is good. And this is one of the reasons all these other world religions want a piece of Jesus. Number one, he put priority on loving God, neighbors, and enemies. Who else does that? No. Nobody. Also, Jesus fed and served people. Here he is washing feet of the disciples, right? He feeds 5,000. He feeds 4,000. Jesus also healed sick, cast out demons, raised the dead. He commanded us to never stop forgiving. Who else does that? He rebuked authorities for leading people astray. Who were the authorities? Pharisees, the Sadducees, the leaders of the Sanhedrin, the teachers. He also warned against leading children astray. It's better to have a millstone hung around your neck and thrown in the sea than if you lead one of these children astray. Wow. That's scary, isn't it? Also, he broke religious, cultural, and racial, and also gender barriers. Think about the woman at the well. He's breaking all sorts of barriers in that one interaction. He's breaking a gender barrier. He's breaking a religious barrier. He's breaking a cultural barrier. He taught profound truths, not just about time, not just how to make your life better. Jesus wasn't a motivational speaker, but also about eternity. Jesus prayed for his disciples and us, the future church. He also gave his life as a sacrifice, a ransom for us. And who are we? We're all enemies. He forgave those crucifying him. Father, forgive them. They do not know what they do. And even his enemies couldn't find any fault in him. Now, was Jesus good? Let me go back to what something Keller said too, which I think is quite profound as well. Tim Keller just says everything so well. Think about all the qualities of Jesus, right? Here's what Keller said about Jesus. Jesus has tenderness without weakness, strength without harshness, humility without the slightest lack of confidence, unhesitating authority with a complete lack of self-absorption, holiness, and unending convictions without any shortage of approachability, power without insensitivity. Notice this is not a balance. He's not balancing, say, tenderness and weakness. He's 100% appropriate wherever he goes. Can any one of us hold all of these things in tension like Jesus did? I don't even know if I can hold any of these in tension like Jesus did. We go one side or the other, right? We're either approachable or we're not. We're either humble or we're cocky, right? There's nowhere in between. Jesus is able to do all that somehow. Doesn't have the sin nature like we have. So you might ask yourself the question, okay, so is Jesus God then because he's good? Here's what Peter Kreeft said. Peter Kreeft is a professor at Boston College. And he said this. See if you agree with this. I think he's right on when he says this. He says, Jesus was either God, if his claims about himself were true, or his claim about himself was true, like he's claiming to be God, he either was God or he was a bad man. If he said what was not true, for good men do not claim to be God. You guys agree with this so far? So he goes on to say, but he was not a bad man. If anyone in history was not a bad man, Jesus was not a bad man. Therefore, Jesus was and is God. Back to the thesis. Here it is. If Jesus was a good man, he was and is God